Bruv, I had to cut that intro off early because I am keen. I was originally late, but then I beat my own intro. We are here. I'm here with 26 people already. 26 people as soon as I press live. That's dope. I know that we're getting to 40, 50. I hope you guys like the trim. By trim, I don't mean the hair. I mean like the overall nerazzurri, the overall black and blue trim of today's video. We're rocking a plain blue into worldwide tee. If you desperately want one, you need to contact me personally. This is not on our range. This is exclusive. We've got the drips happening in the background. We've got the awesome LED into worldwide blue light, keeping this stream going. I'm actually going to remove my name so that we can see it properly. Hold up. Hold up. That's better. That's what we want to see. That's exactly what we want to see. My name is Anthony. As you already know, we've got 29 people in the house. We've got White Suburban Kid. We've got channel members and my boy Matt Pickham, Adam, Massimo. Would love to say, but you have training. You kill it. Our brother Mattia, whose vlog now has about 2,000 views, which is awesome. Make sure you check out Mattia's vlog. Oh, man, if you haven't received that yet, then I might have to look into that because it's taken a while. No, but to be honest, it took about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks for mine to get to Australia. So yours should still be all right. Yes, wedding duties called for it, Ben, on the weekend. Yeah, it's not really new. It's just I fixed the light on this awesome LED thing from Debbie and Ian Kerr. And now the entire trim looks blue. And I don't need to put this really annoying, glaring white light on above my head because I hate white light above my head. It's really, really bad. Today's a really good show. Like today, we could be here for an hour and a half. We actually could be here for an hour and a half. It could be deep. We are going through every Serie A side. This is a cross-platform stream. I don't know who will tune in on Football Worldwide. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say almost nobody. Serbia is a black hole, so it takes more to get from there. Yeah, it probably does, man. Let me just chuck a logo up in the screen. Here we go. And yeah, bro, the content's coming. I wish I could put more out. But, you know, as you can see, like, I've got some segments that I teed up while we were winning the Scudetto. So when, like, you know, some thumbnails and whatnot. So whenever I've got time to record content, I've always got something to go to the drawing board to. You know, for example, the Let's Talk Mkhitaryan's and Thuram. that was easy content on the go. Content on the go, bro. But this one is chilled, man. We're chilling. We've got the Corinne Hayaketsus ready to go. And let's do it, man. Today it's the Serie A review, and we're going to do it in a special way. I've never really rated side by side before, but we're going to go into it this season. And I can't wait because we're actually going to give a rating to every single side. I'm going to type it in myself. I might actually have to share the screen while I do it instead of actually mirroring the slideshow. So if I do that, I go to share screen. Yeah, we might have to do it like that, eh? Easy done. Only because I want to actually rate these teams. Shouldn't have zoomed in like that. Zoom in better. That's all right. I know what I'm going to do. I know what we're going to do. All good, all good. No worries. Hello, Rosemary. Good to see you. There's 32 people here right now. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new. And yeah, the vlog's going very, very well. So guys, today we're rating every Serie A side. Keep in mind there is still one game left for Atalanta and Fiorentina. They will play each other tomorrow. However, it is what we call a dead rubber fixture in terms that the only thing that can change is a team's position on the ladder, but it doesn't mean anything from a financial point of view, from a qualification to any external competition point of view. And that is exactly why you see the likes of Atalanta and Fiorentina still being allowed to play out tomorrow's game. Can I move this or nah? Nah, but I can flick differently, but I don't want to do that. Should we keep it like this or like this? Nope. Nah. God, man. Why can't they just be normal when they do these sort of views? These views are awful. They offer nothing whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. Anyway, we go back to basics, I guess. Perfect. What's going on, Nick Knox? Thank you very much. Can I just say, today, I gave a shout out to a few people on the community tab and on Twitter. We had 2 Twitter winners to our competition, 1 YouTube winner, none of which were channel members. So this irked me a little bit, irked me in a good way, in a sense that I will definitely be giving out more merch because I want to give to these channel members, man. People like Nick Knox, people like Adam, like Massimo. I mean, if I could just send you all one, I would, but that's probably not the right thing to do either. So keep an eye on the channel because I feel like once a month I'm going to do a member giveaway. Also, anyone that refers a member, and I might put a post out about this, anyone that refers a member that actually signs up to the channel, I will personally send you something for free. So we start from the top. Atalanta. Here we go. What a season, man. What a season. And we're going to have to give them a rating altogether. I'll talk about the Azzurri and the Euros at the end a little bit, Alex, because right now we've got some business to take care of. Every slide you'll see will present itself out of 10. Atalanta, what a season. If we can go back to the ladder for just a second, they will finish either 3rd, 4th, or 5th. So their position is still up in the the stars. We don't know, but it will not change their qualification. They will go to the Champions League, and on top of that, they have won the Europa League. What an achievement from the club from Bergamo. Arguably, if not definitely, the greatest achievement in Juan Piero Gasperini's history, in all of these players' history, in the club's history. What a season for Atalanta, a club that never really shifted out of the top 4 all season in Serie A. And I dare say that's why I wanted to do this as a live. You can take some points away for the Coppa Italia, but Gasperini's dance in that Europa League final is going to be the be-all and end-all of their season. You combine that with the fact that they are going to the Champions League again via qualification route, and they are going to that again via the Europa League, I'm sorry, man, but I don't see any other way than to give them a 9 out of 10. I really don't. I have to give them a 9 out of 10. I have to give them a 9 out of 10. The Coppa Italia, Massimo says 8. Bruv, I dare you to go up to a fan in Bergamo. I dare you to go up to a fan in Bergamo and say that this season is only an 8 out of 10 when they won the Europa League / UEFA Cup. They'll look at you and go, Makekats, if that's an 8, what's a 9? Oh, winning the Coppa Italia, rubbish. It doesn't mean anything to them losing that Coppa Italia now that they've got this. But I will take into the account that a trophy should count for a point. So I'm happy to give Massimo the benefit of the doubt there. Halfway. And I love the idea of meeting it halfway. So I think we can all agree that Atalanta gets an 8.5. They still get an 8.5. Mattia is speaking from an emotional point of view, which I love and completely back. But in this situation, we cannot respect. So as much as I would love to give them a 7.9 for giving Merdentus the Coppa Italia, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. So altogether, we've got the right mark. Bologna is up next. Yeah, you watch it later, Massimo. Do your thing, boy. Bologna up next. And this is what you call history for the books, man. This is proper history for the books. When you pull off a Champions League qualification with Bologna, this is as close to a 10 as you can almost get. Now, keep in mind, no silverware was won along the way. No Coppa Italia was won, which to a club like Bologna, they would also look at you and go, you really think we care about the Coppa Italia when we qualified for the Champions League? You also might need to take into account the fact that qualifying for the Champions League means losing your manager and 2 to 3 of your best players. But alas, there's absolutely no point in pretending that these things count because they don't. Out of 10, what are we saying for Bologna to the 37 people, 38 people here right now? I'm going to have to go out on a limb and just give it a 9.5. And the only thing that's missing is the fact that a Coppa Italia could have gone with it. The Scudetto is never an option. The Scudetto is never an option for this club. I have to give them a 9.5. There's no other way to say it. I have to give them a 9.5. How can you not? How can you not give them a 9.5? It only makes sense. A 9 for Bologna for Nix Knox. Is Motta an Inter legend? Definitely not, guys. Going, bro, Mattia is back to his best, bro. Man came back from Milan and said, bun this. F this. I'm going back to hating Juve before I am supporting Inter. Because that's twice my brother has bought them up in the stream. And I love it. I'm so here for it. Admit it, you'd be giving them a 9.5 like me if Motta wasn't going there. 9 for the boys, 9.5 for me. I'm keeping it at a 9.5. You know why? One sentence. Bologna is playing Champions League football next season. Bologna is playing Champions League football next season. Are you fucking crazy? That is nuts. Yeah, they get a 6.5. Yeah, we'll get to that eventually. Thanks for your comments, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a channel member. Enjoy, bro, and watch it back later on. 9.5, guys. 9.5. Next up, we have the amazing Claudio Ranieri, who I dropped so much shade on in my early years as a fan. It was really unnecessary, to be honest. I think that Claudio Ranieri's efforts with Cagliari this season need to be respected. Let's go back to the ladder if we can for a second. In 16th position overall with 36 competition points. As long as you survive the drop, you've done your job. You've really done your job well. And I think that's exactly what Ranieri's done. It wasn't a great season because they had so many games throughout the year where I remember watching it and just thinking, holy crap, they suck. They absolutely suck. Like, they're worse than Empoli. They're worse than Frosinone. But at the same time, they always had players that could still get them bullshit points and bullshit results, even when they shouldn't have. Like, let's just go through their fixture list for a second. They've dropped some horrible points, but they were able to steal a few. Like, what business did they have drawing 1-1 with Napoli in the 96-minute goal for Zito? You know, that's absolutely ridiculous. They won 2-0 away to Sassuolo, and we'll get to that disaster class soon enough. Obviously, that was recent. That was only a week ago, 2 weeks ago, if you guys remember. They had absolutely no business beating Atalanta 2-1 on the 8th of April. But they were just able to keep squeaking across the line. A point against Juve as well, 2-2, goals for Gaetano and Mina. They were actually up 2-0 before Juve had to come back. A point to Lecce as well. You know, they did what they needed to do throughout the season. And with the survival and the idea of Ranieri actually surviving, I don't think anyone can really say that their season was anything other than a borderline success. Staying up in the league on its own for Cagliari should be considered a success. It automatically gives you the default. You know, if a 5 is a pass, how does a club like Cagliari get a 10? Do they have to qualify for the Europa League? Do they have to qualify for the Champions League to get a 10? I mean, I typed in a 7, 7.5, but maybe that's a little bit too high. At the end of the day, they weren't qualified from relegation up until a week and a half ago, to 2 weeks ago. So because of that, actually, it was a week and a half ago, yeah. So because of that, I can only give them a 6.5. I can only give Cagliari a 6.5. And I give them this 6.5 because, once again, surviving relegation, good thing. But at the same time, the fact that it was Ranieri and it was his only job, it was all he was tasked to do, and he did it. I think he's an absolute gem for being able to do that again. He's an absolute gem. 8 from you, really. 8 from you, Mattia. I think it's a little bit too much to give him an 8, but I'm happy to give him this 6.5, man. I'm happy to give him this 6.5. No problem there. One thing I do need to say, though, is that Cagliari's squad on its best day was bang average, man. It was a bang average squad. I thought it was always a Serie B squad. I mean, nobody in that squad excited me. From the top of my head, the players that I know for a fact have got stature in the world of football, it's not one Luca Gaetano, who was one of their better players throughout the year. It's Nathan Nandez, Yerry Mina, Lapadula, maybe Shomorodov. But it's nobody else. So 6.5 from me for Cagliari, and we jog on. We jog on from there, guys. Let's go to who's next up on the list. A team that would have been flirting with a 3 out of 10 all season. Is he seriously taking 10 million a year in Saudi? Get fucked. Is he seriously getting 10 million a year next season in Saudi? That guy. That guy. That is everything wrong with football. That's horrible. Ranieri's still getting sympathy points for that. So up until this morning, Bastoni, not our one. Ismaili, not Aslani. And co. You know, even then again, who else do they have off the top of their head? They were flirting with a 3 out of 10 all season. Cambiaghi, Luperto, Berisha. It's a shit squad. It's a Serie B squad. Empoli should have been relegated this season. Empoli should have been relegated this season. They really should have. I am very surprised that Empoli survived the drop. Very surprised. I really thought they were done for. And when I saw this morning, when I woke up to have a sip of water and turn my phone on and saw that Frosinone hadn't conceded a goal yet and that Empoli were not winning against Roma, I thought Frosinone is safe. They've been better all season. They deserve to be safe. And then I wake up and I see, what the fuck? A Niang goal in stoppage time to give these brethrens the nod. They are there. Empoli are staying in Serie A. Empoli are staying in Serie A. No casual beer for Empoli this time. No, they're having 2 beers, 3. What a moment for this club. I cannot believe that they have survived the drop. They have completely snuck their way back into this because they were done for. Absolutely done for. Niang, 93rd minute. They have had some shithouse results in Serie A this season, gang. They have been awful. Home draw to Frosinone, away draw to Udinese, losses to Lazio, Atalanta, to Lecce, to Bologna, to us, that's Inter, to Milan, away loss to Cagliari, drop points at home to Fiorentina, drop points at home to Genoa, loss to Verona, home massive defeats to Lazio, Milan. Empoli picked up points with an array of draws, a fluke 1-0 against Napoli with a goal to Kovalenko in the 91st minute. An away draw to Juve, 1-1, Baldanzi in the 70th. They were able to get a point at home against Fiorentina. Niang scored a penalty in that one. 3-2 victory over Torino has to be one of their better results this season. Cambiaghi, Cancellieri, and Niang grabbing goals again. And today's 2-1 against Roma. Cancellieri and Niang, they did the job. Empoli are staying in Serie A. Saved in the last minute by Roma. Thank you to the 37 people that are here with me on all platforms right now. Like the video, subscribe if you are new, as always. Next up, you know what it is. Hellas Verona. Hellas Verona. They're coming up next. Frosinone. A side that didn't start the season too poorly. They were playing a decent brand of football. I mean, I thought they were. And they looked as though that if they were able to, keep going with their start to the season, they might just be able to survive the drop. They didn't really look like they were an absolute bag of shit until around December, in my opinion. Because if we go back to the results, you'll see that they beat Atalanta, beat Sassuolo, 3 draws in those other games between Udinese, Salernitana, and Fiorentina, lost to Roma, beat Verona. They went through in the Coppa Italia against Torino. And then you got to think, well, quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia, they've just beat Empoli at home 2-1 as well. Didn't play badly against Inter 2-0. Beat Genoa 2-1. At this point in time, it's December, and Frosinone are freaking, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're like 11th on the ladder at this point. 12th on the ladder, something like that. They're definitely not shitting in the relegation zone. And then the round of 16, I don't know if you guys remember, but they went to Naples and scored 4 from the 65th minute onwards. They absolutely dumped on them. But then 2024 proves to be a bitch in hiding for Frosinone. Not good. Not good, guys. Where does it start? I'll tell you where it starts. 2-1 away to Juve. I remember I was actually watching that game on my honeymoon thinking Juve's bound to score, but so far so good for Frosinone. Well, unfortunately for me on the day and for them, Vlahovic scores in the 81st minute, and that just shits on their confidence. 3-1 to Lazio, 3-2 home defeat to Monza, 4-0 smacking in the quarterfinal to Juventus, losing 5-0 in Bergamo straight after that. They then beat Cagliari, draw to Verona, lose 3-2 to Milan, lose 5-1 to Fiorentina, lose 3-0 to Roma, lose 3-2 to Juventus. They then lose to Sassuolo 2 weeks later, lose to Lazio, couple of draws in between Lecce, Genoa, and Bologna, and Napoli as well, and another one to Torino. They finally beat Salernitana. However, they get down to the last few games, and I'm really, really sorry to be them, but they get here, and it's just not good enough. How can it be good enough? You've gotten to this point. You draw with Empoli. You get smacked 5-0 by the champions. And then there's a spark. There's a small spark with a win against Monza. But today is just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking to be a Frosinone fan today, isn't it? Frosinone are relegated. And they're relegated by starting well at the start of the season. But ultimately, you effed up. You didn't F up as bad as Salernitana, and therefore you don't get a gutter rating. But at the end of the day, you got relegated. You got relegated. And relegated teams need to be given a very harsh rating. So I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry to Frosinone, but you get a 3 out of 10. And you're lucky to get a 3 out of 10. That's a very generous rating for a team that's been relegated, to be honest. I cannot give you anything more than a 3 out of 10. We move on. Genoa. Well, you know what? They weren't half bad this season, were they? Alberto Gilardino. This is the thing I've remembered you for the most since your header against the United States of America in the 2006 World Cup. Your head looks nothing like it used to. You used to be a very good-looking Italian gentleman. You look like the pits at the moment. I don't know what's going on with your hairstyle. Looks like you've dunked it in an absolute valve of olive oil before every single game. But that's okay, because we're only concerned with your performance as Genoa manager here at the moment, aren't we? See? Genoa started the season pretty well. They were playing a brand of football where you could already see they'll be good enough to survive. Really bad first opening round against Fiorentina, but they then get some points against Lazio, lose to Torino, draw to Napoli, draw to Lecce. Lose to Lecce. Then they beat Roma 4-1, and they start picking up a few points after that, not without losing games to Milan and Atalanta. They beat Salernitana. They go through in the Coppa Italia, lose to Cagliari, beat Verona, lose to Frosinone, draw with Genoa. At this point in time, midway through the season, they are looking a little bit sticky, about 15th at this point in the ladder, I recall. Eliminated from the Coppa and then copping a defeat to Monza, but then it sort of shifts them into gear. They get a point at home the week before Christmas. Goodmanson scored a good goal in that game. I remember that one against Juve. Of course, it was against Juve that I remember. And then after that is where they start picking up their points for the season. Away win against Sassuolo, backed up by a very good point, Dragujan, against Inter, which earns him a transfer to Spurs. Respectable points against Bologna and Torino. And you guys got to remember, when you're battling relegation in this league, 1 point is worth 3 half the time. Then they actually do get 3 at Salernitana and 3 again against Lecce and a draw against Empoli. So notice how in this back half of the season, Genoa aren't losing their 6-pointers, their relegation head-to-heads. They're either winning them or drawing them. A point picked up in Naples, a win against Udinese, a point in Turin, a point against Frosinone, a win in Verona, a point against Fiorentina, wins against Cagliari, draw to Milan, and a win against Sassuolo as well. Genoa overall did pretty well this season. You can't really go out and say that Alberto Gilardino can do anything else. I think a 9 was actually copied and pasted from the team before that. My bad. I'm going to have to change that because it's not a 9. I can't give him a 9. He has done extremely well, because to finish 11th with Genoa is very, very bloody good. Don't get me wrong. It's not a 9, but we're not like screamingly too far off. Here. But for Genoa at the moment, I can definitely give Alberto Gilardino and Genoa a 7. You know what? I'd go one further than that. I think a lot of Genoa fans would be very happy finishing 11th in Serie A. You're virtually, if we go to the ladder just for a second. I can't see because my logo's in the way. How ironic. 49, 45. Yeah, man, you're 2 games away from being in the top half of the table. So for that, you grant Alberto Gilardino his flowers. 7.5 out of 10, I think, is actually pretty fair. Nix Knox is giving them a 9. See, I wasn't that far off. I swear I wasn't. But you can't give them a 9 with those results at the start of the season, cuz you cannot give them those. You cannot give him a 9. I didn't realize how many points he had dropped in the start of the season. Can't give him that. Can't give him that. I think 7.5/8 is a pretty fair rating for this guy. Moving on. We have Fiorentina. Now, this rating is still in limbo. Why? You guys should know why. I believe in 2 days or 3 days' time, Fiorentina will play. Who will they play? Fiorentina will play Olympiacos in the final of the Conference League. A final that they lost last year to West Ham United. We remember that. We remember that. So, man, have you guys been commenting for a while and I didn't see them? Nah, all good, all good. That's a comment from before. My bad. Yeah. So anyway, the Fiorentina result. Oh, cool. You're going to be in Athens for that game. Matt, send me some footage if you record anything. So obviously we're all hoping for a Fiorentina win here. Italiano has managed to get them into 8th position in Serie A. They didn't have a fantastic start to the season. I know there was questions about whether or not Italiano can get the best out of the players. I always thought he was a good appointment manager-wise for Fiorentina. I think that's a club on Italiano's level of management at the moment. You know how you see these mid-table managers, they reach a little bit too soon and they die, which I didn't want for Thiago Motta. Now I think it'll be the funniest thing in the world if it happens to Thiago Motta. Go figure. They had a busy start to the season because they had a busy end to last season, Fiorentina. They had the conference final against West Ham. For some reason, they played way too many friendlies, in my opinion. They played a bunch of friendlies leading up to the new season, both in Italy and overseas, including matches against Newcastle and Nice as well. So they've come into the season extremely busy. They've smacked Genoa, and then they had a Europa Conference League playoff. So they weren't even supposed to be in the Conference League. They lost the first leg 1-0 to Rapid Vienna, and then they won the second leg 2-0 to get through. So I'm sure they're happy about that. Nico Gonzalez scored both goals, one of them being a penalty. Glad that he remembered his penalty shoes on that day and not against Inter. Some questionable results Serie A-wise for them at the start of the season, like a home draw to Lecce, 4-0 against Inter. Not a good result, obviously. A 1-1 draw away to Frosinone. They also lost at home 2-0 to Empoli, which is where the question started. Losses to Roma and Juve back-to-back, but then they beat Bologna, lost to Milan. Through to the Coppa Italia quarterfinals after beating Parma 4-1 in the round of 16. Decent draw to Roma, wins against Verona, Monza away. They then end up going through to the Coppa Italia semi-final after beating Bologna in penalties as well. So 2 back-to-back shootout wins for Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia. They lose the first leg of the Supercoppa Italiana semi-final 3-0 against Napoli, which is pretty comfortable. They then lose to Inter 1-0 in a game which I really enjoyed because it was a game that we were supposed to lose. Suck shit to the haters. But here we sit once again. Questionable results against Lecce, Bologna, Empoli, and Torino in the back end of the season, but overall an 8th place finish because at this point they're probably focusing on the Coppa Italia and on the Europa Conference League. Very good away win against Maccabi Haifa and then a home draw, which gets them through. Drop point / slip results against Milan, Roma, and in the first leg of the Coppa Italia, they end up actually beating Atalanta 1-0 through the goal from Mandragora. And you're thinking at this point that they should get to the final. They were actually my pick. They were my pick to win the Coppa Italia. Because, we did them over in the final last season, and I think that they were very disappointed about that. I feel as though they were quite gutted at that. So what exactly does Italiano and his men deserve? Well, I mean, they drew in the Czech Republic against Victoria Plzeň, a team that Inter had to go through in the Champions League, I think, last season. And then they won 2-0 at home there. They get spanked in the Coppa Italia semi. So you're pretty much docking almost the whole point off them there, because we know that cup football plays a large amount of significance in this season. So I'm going to give 2 ratings here. And it's a big difference between the two. But let me know if you guys agree. Milinkovic was injured for a bit of the season. We're going with a 6 or an 8. It can't be anything less than a 6, because when you finish 8th, make a final and a Coppa Italia semi-final, you got to give him his flowers for just getting there. A 6 is getting there. However, you win that European final, I think it adds a massive chunk of value to your season. However, he's proven he can get all the way. So yes, FaZe is correct when he says, as of today, 2 days before the Conference League final, you can give them a 7.5. But that 7.5, I'm sure you'll agree, my bro, that becomes a 6, 6.5 very quickly if they lose to goddamn Olympiacos in the final. Like, all respect to Olympiacos, I know they're a heavyweight side in Greece. I grew up watching them in the Champions League. I got a fair few Greek mates, but at the end of the day, it's Olympiacos. Like, just give them a proper run and have a go, yeah? Win another European trophy for the Italian clubs. Atalanta did it, you can too. There's 42 people live with me right now on Inter Worldwide. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let me know if you are new. So it's a 6 or an 8.5 for Italiano e Fiorentina. We move on to the easiest team of the 22 rank and rate. It's our boys. It's our beloved Inter. Scudetto winners, second star, Campioni d'Italia, which is all that matters. You have to dock a point for the Champions League exit. You have to dock a point. But you don't dock points for Coppa Italia exits at this point in time, because the goal is to win. One moment. The aim is to win the second star. Mattia's throwing the 10s up in the air already. I can't give us a 10 out of 10 because of the way we exited the Champions League. So, and this is the first pessimistic thing I've said in months. Believe me, anyone watching this who's not an Inter fan, which I doubt is anybody, there are some of our fans have started to lament our season and have taken the Oak Tree exit as the worst thing in the world. I mean, sorry, the Sunni exit and the Oak Tree in as the worst thing in the world. Bro, they can suck it. I am not phased one bit. Campioni d'Italia. Campioni d'Italia. You see these 2 stars on this shirt? Yes. Feel me. We are the champions of Italy. I don't give a shit that our owner, who has not been around for 3 years, finally got told that he is being repossessed. It is what it is. It is what it is. I've said it over a couple of chats, and if I need to say it here and be the harsh one, I will. I don't care that he is gone. He has behaved like a fan the last 3 years and the last 2 weeks. These statements that he's put out, this letter to the fans, yeah, it's all nice, but it's all one bar too emotional for me, too sentimental. Pay your dues, Stevie. Pay your debts, cuz. If I don't pay my mortgage, the bank comes and takes my house. You get it, yeah? I get it that you love us. I get it that you're emotional and you need to write a letter. Oh, it's the fans. And I get fans are getting teary. Guess what? Get with it, bro. This is business. This is the real world. There are no time for jerk tears. There are no time for this crap. Stevie Zhang got exactly what he deserved, to lose his asset that is not paid for. Thank you, Stevie, for the success. Thank you for employing Beppe Marotta. Thank you for giving the backroom staff your vote of confidence. Thank you for your early transfers. Thank you for your later transfers. But your behavior the last couple of years has been questionable. I didn't mean to sidetrack, but I know that I've got the audience here to sidetrack for it. 9.8 out of 10 for Frankie. What's up, G? 9 out of 10 for Tim. 10 out of 10 for Mattia. 20 out of 20 for Alex. Yeah, 100. 8.5 for FaZe because we lost to Sassuolo. Peak off, FaZe. I know you're joking. Yeah, it'd be great if we get that Saudi money. Guys, I give Inter-season a 9 out of 10. Arguably a 9.5. The only reason it's not a 9.5 is because we didn't go through to the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the Champions League. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me because we didn't win everything. Are you allowed as a club like Inter to give yourself a 10 out of 10 if you don't win everything? I don't know. Is the treble winning season a 10 or a 12? I don't know. I don't know how we're rating this. It's all tongue-in-cheek ratings. I think we can all agree a 9 is respectable. If people in this stream want to get their panties in a knot, we'll give it the extra point. 5. Okay? 9.5 out of 10 for the champions of Italy. We are the champions of Italy. We are the champions of Italy. Yes, we did. We did beat them 5-1 and won the second star in front of their fans. We actually did. We actually did do that, didn't we? $9.99 out of 10 for the champions of Italy, because that's all that matters. Anyway, from hero to zero, very quickly. Boo! God. You respect my high expectations, not giving it a 10. Thank you, Alex. I do have stupidly high expectations. But hey, we are the champions of Italy. Frankie's having a good laugh. Let's just go back and look at it one more time. Champions, not champions of Italy. Champions of Italy, not champions of Italy. Champions of Italy, not champions, not champions. Not champions of Italy. Now, I'll stop being so petty now because they did win the Coppa Italia and literally saved their whole goddamn season. Like, that saved their season big time. I'm just going to keep that comment there from Mattia for spitting facts. But honestly, let's talk seriously for a second. A start to the season that made us all very concerned as Inter fans. A start to the season where when they picked up all these results, and it was the manner that they were picking them up as well, wasn't it? Wasn't it the manner that they were picking them up as well? It was textbook, these guys. Textbook. I'm going to go and look at some of their results at the start of the season. Fuck me dead. It's giving me trauma just looking at it right now because they kept up with us really far. It really pissed me off for so long. I remember losing my shit in my living room a couple of times. Not to Inter because of this crap. They start the season. Atalanta, draw. Udinese, away, win. Bologna, draw. Away, win to Empoli. 3-1 win against Lazio. They lose to Sassuolo 4-2. And this was the first chink in the armor to me. When I saw them lose to Sassuolo, that stupidly comical Federico Gatti own goal, I thought these guys are here for the taking this season. However, they made us sweat dick after that. They beat Lecce 1-0 after playing like crap. Goal to Milik, I remember as well. Then after that, they start to rack up the necessary points. Wins against Torino. 1-0 against Milan. I remember I was watching that in the morning of my Bucks and thinking, I really don't want them to win. But they did. I would have preferred Milan to win. They beat Verona with a goal in the 96th minute from Cambiaso. This is where the Inter fans started really feeling the PTSD because then they held on to a 1-0 against Fiorentina. They then beat Cagliari 2-1 with a goal in the 60th and 70th. They weren't that good. I think Rugani got one of them. I remember a defender getting one of those goals. I'm just looking at the scores. Sorry, I can't remember who scored the goals, though. They drew against us. They beat Monza. I remember watching that game and seeing Carboni score, but then seeing Gatti score in extra time, like 2 minutes after Carboni scored, which was in extra time to start with. That really shit me. Then they picked up points against Napoli the day of my wedding. I was watching that with my dad. They beat Frosinone, I think, in the last second as well, or maybe not the last second, maybe with like 10 minutes to go or something like that. Draw against Genoa, small win against Roma and Salernitana. They cruised through in the Coppa Italia by smashing Salernitana and Frosinone. And then in the league, they beat Sassuolo and Lecce back-to-back. And now we're at the 22nd of January. They beat Lecce 3-0. And that's basically the last good day of their season until May. That's the last good day of their season until fucking May. From January 22nd until May, they sucked. They sucked ass big time. It was horrible. Let's go through the comments for a second. You've been trolling Birdo, just stirring the plot. Oh, Alberto. Man, you'll need to stir him pretty hard, bro. He's not easy to face. We're going to miss Allegri big time, bro. A strong, unbiased 7. I don't think I'd give it a 7. This team managed to win a trophy despite... Look how much hate we've still got for these guys. I love it. We are petty. We are petty. Stan is here. What's going on? Very late for the party, so I will start from the beginning, and my patience will listen to you. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Your patience, not your patience, your actual patience. Who are your patients? Who are your patients? They dipped bad. Yeah, we'll get to Napoli soon, bro. Don't you worry. They are in here very much so. Overall, let's get back to the funny stuff. 1-1 at home to Empoli. Really bad result. Really bad result because it's just before the derby. We beat them 1-0. Then they lose to Udinese, which is an even worse result than ours, to be honest, because it basically puts the first nail in their coffin. They then can't beat Verona. In fact, they're lucky to even get a point out of the Verona game, which is basically the final nail in the coffin because they lose to Napoli, which when they lost to Napoli, I thought to myself, now Inter will run on and win this thing. Draw to Atalanta, draw to Genoa, lost to Lazio. They beat Fiorentina, draw to Torino, draw to Cagliari, draw to Milan, draw to Roma, draw to Salernitana. God, they sucked ass. Draw to Bologna, and they beat Monza. Man, they did not win many games in Serie A this season. Overall, Serie A this season, they will finish 4th. Thank you, bro. We got a new sub. Bash. Oh, you're a Man United fan, Jay. Good on you. Me too, bro. And I have no shame saying it anymore. Man United fan for 25 years. You listening, Mattia? You listening, bro? You upset? Does that make you upset, bro? Nah, just kidding, bro. Altogether, I can't really give Juve a massive rating because their Serie A season is dog shit by their standards. And if I'm allowed to be a little bit biased in this video, I'll give them a poor mark. They do win a Coppa Italia, which on its own should be worth about 2 to 3 points for Juve. Qualification to the Champions League at 3 points. And at the end of the day, you get rid of Max Allegri. 6.5 out of 10 for Juventus. 6.5 out of 10 for Juventus. And I'm being generous. Good for them to come back and win the Coppa Italia. That's the only nice things I'll say to these guys. Piss off. Get off my screen. Ha! Lazio. What a joke. Now we're going to start giving some dig ratings, man. Some teams that actually underperformed this season, Lazio being one of them, horrible season. Remember, they started the season with Maurizio Sarri. We can't forget that. They started the season with Maurizio Sarri, but it just went bad to worse. Yeah, bro, if you're throwing a 3 out of 10 to Lazio, I can back that rating with my chest. That's a good rating for what's been a shithouse Lazio season. I get it. You lost Milinkovic-Savic. I get it. But the way Lotito behaves in the market is nothing short of disgraceful. If I was a Lazio fan, I would be pissed off every single day. You are like Spurs with no money. No Levy, bruv. No Levy. No Levy Lazio. None. No Daniel Levy. Absolute none. It's such a bad season. They had so many bad results, man. So many bad results. They started Serie A with back-to-back losses against Lecce and Genoa. They beat Napoli, lost to Juve, 1-1 to Atletico in their first game of the Champions League. Remember, Lazio were playing Champions League this season. Drop points against Monza, Milan. They do beat Atalanta in the league and then Sassuolo. They lose to Feyenoord, beat Fiorentina, lose to Bologna, beat Feyenoord again. The first derby della Capitale ends 0-0. They lose to Salernitana. Shit result. Draw to Verona. Lose to Inter. They pick it up points where it counts against relegation sides, but overall, it's dire, man. It's dire. Sarri is sacked. Tudor comes in and does like a borderline better job at just recreating some sort of structure going into next season. But ultimately, Lazio finish 7th and miss out on European football. They go from Champions League football to 7th and no European football. I'll repeat that sentence. They go from Champions League football to 7th and no European football with a sacked manager. Guys, so far, Lazio are our biggest losers of the stream. I'm giving them a 2 out of 10 overall for the season. I'm giving them a 2 out of 10 overall for the season. Sorry, guys. We'll just have 10 seconds of silence for Mattia to finish his hissy fit in the chat. And 10 seconds. Fantastic. They did improve for Tour, but it was a bad season in general. I can't give them anything more than a 2 out of 10. Bro, they're 7th. I don't think they go to Europa League because I don't think Roma ended up getting that last spot. If anything, is it? Oh, because Atalanta get 5th. Lazio qualify to the Europa League, or is it conference? Bro, they have to go to the Conference League. Yeah, it's not Europa. It's not Europa, bro. Roma go to Europa. Inter, AC, Juve, Atalanta, Bologna are going to Champions. Roma will go to Europa. Lazio will go to Conference. Fiorentina, if they win the Conference League, will obviously qualify to a European competition as well. I have no idea what's going on, bro. I know that there's 5 Champions League spots only. Are you sure? Are you sure 7th goes to Europa? Because we're like borderline, like at the mid-table cusp now, Mattia, and we're actually sending 7th place to the Europa. What are we sending 9th place to the Conference League if Fiorentina win tomorrow? I guess Olympiacos. If Fiorentina beat Olympiacos, are we sending Torino to the Conference League and Fiorentina to the Europa? Does Fiorentina qualify for Europa if they win the Conference League? I don't even know. Yeah, I know they missed out on Champions League, but Roma are 6th. Lazio are 7th. So Roma is going to Europa. Are Italy sending 2 teams to the Europa League? If you can prove that to me in some way, Mattia, then they can have a 4. Only because they get Europa League qualification. But I don't think they get it because I'm reading that they're 7th. But I could be wrong. At the end of the day, I don't care that much. To be honest, if a side like Lazio can distract themselves with Europa League football, they're more likely to drop a game against us. 9 Serie A teams in Europe. Napoli missed out at... Bruh, that's why Conte goes there. Conte took over Chelsea when they were like 17th, bro. He took over Chelsea at 17th. 17th. Remember what happened when he took over Tottenham? How he didn't win a trophy or finish in the top 4. Oh, wait, he did finish in the top 4. They celebrated and he looked at his staff and went, remember this moment? Yeah, you're never supposed to celebrate finishing this low again. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, Lazio suck. Next, Lecce. Started the season pretty well. At the end of it, end up finishing well. Their results under Luca Gotti at the end of the season, though, are questionable, to say the least. Once again, though, they do start the season pretty decently. They beat Lazio. They grab points against Fiorentina. They beat Salernitana. Points against Monza. They beat Genoa. They only lose narrowly to Juventus. They get spanked by Napoli. They get a point against Sassuolo, a point against Udinese. They go on a bit of a dip after that, but still picking up draws against Empoli, Verona, Bologna. They beat Frosinone. They made life difficult for Inter on the 24th of December, which is such a beautiful day. I remember being on my honeymoon. I keep bringing it up because I remember these games. It was such a beautiful time. They then pick up points against Cagliari, drop points against Lazio, Juve, Genoa, but they claw it out. And then from February onwards, they look like shit because they lose to Bologna, they lose to Torino, they lose to us, they draw to Frosinone, they lose to Verona, they beat Salernitana, they draw to Roma, lose to Milan. They picked up the points where it counted in April. Overall, a little bit of a scare towards the end of the season. I remember it being just like a little bit of a scare towards the end of the season, but nothing too much to stress over. The bottom line is that Lecce survived relegation, had a start of the season so comfortable that they didn't have to really freak out until about April, May, and they still ended up surviving the drop, and they ended up finishing 14th. For a club like Lecce, you can probably give their season an 8 in context. In context to what their expectations are, in context to how they didn't have to fight their way out of the relegation zone at the start of the season or look over their shoulder until like March, April. I'm willing to give them, in context, a really good season. Am I reaching too far with an 8 out of 10 for Lecce? Should we put that down to a 7 or a 7.5? We might be reaching a little bit too high with an 8. Thank you very much for your confirmation, Mattia. Oh, yeah, believe it or not, like this is why Conte is going to Napoli. He's got 38 games in Italy to win next season. Conte, like Napoli just went from Europa League qualification to Scudetto contenders for next season if they get Conte. We've got a 7 for Mattia for Lecce. I'm not too sure what qualifies you for an 8 if you're Lecce then, but we'll go with a 7.5. If Fiorentina wins against Olympiacos, Torino qualifies for Conference League. That's bizarre, man. I'll be following all Italian teams in Europe with everything next season. Everything. We've just hit 50 people. So we did hit 50 people. Why would you give a 6 for Lecce, though, Bruno? And why would you give a 6 for Lecce, Frankie? Because, you know, they still survived the drop. And if you're going to survive it for Lecce, hey, Amy, how you going? Thanks for coming in. We've got 52 people right now. We've got some numbers stacking through. 38. Yeah, you know what? Technically, they only finished 3 points above the drop zone. So I'll downgrade it to a 7. But for a club like Lecce, I really don't think you can give them less than a 7. It doesn't seem fair. I think that you're overreaching there to give them a poor mark when they deserve a little bit more recognition. But hey, that's just my opinion. At the end of the day, they'll just be happy to stay. Same as any of the other relegation threatened opponents that could have went down. Anyway, it's time to give a really good rating. A really good rating. Because this team here is going to get a very crappy rating. So good for us, bad for them. Milan. I mean, it could be one of the worst second place finishes you see. Because they finished second at the end of the day. But they sucked. From the day they lost 5-1 to Inter, they were never in a Scudetto race. They were never in it. Not once. Not once. Not once were these guys in a Scudetto race with us all season. They were fucking out of it from the moment Marcus Thuram scored that screamer. They were out of this title race from the moment Marcus Thuram scored that goal on match day 3. 2, 3, 4, 3, I think. 0 titoli, and we humiliated them twice. If that's your actual mark for a season for Milan with no trophies, I know you're just stirring up the chat for no reason. Bruv, you cannot give this team a rating over than 6. Milan's season will look like this. Out of the title race by New Year's, out of the Coppa Italia by whenever it was. I can't even remember. They weren't even flirting with it. Out of the Champions League in the group stage, out of Europa League before the semi-finals, didn't win a derby, got smacked 5-1 in the derby, lost the fucking, what the hell? We won the title in their backyard. Bro, I'm going in on this rating, bro. If you are a Milan fan, this is the worst second place finish of all time. Bro, I know you qualified for the Champions League. You get 4. You get 4. Season overall from 6.5. Bro, we're not talking about last season in the Champions League, buddy. That's last season. This isn't the 2022-23 ratings. It's 23-24. They couldn't beat Salernitana. We smacked their mums, bro. They can get a 4. If Inter had this sort of, I'm just saying what I would feel. If Inter had this sort of season, I would give it a 4 to 4.5. 4 to 4.5. But I can't imagine that because we're not going to lose 6 dead. We're not going to. It's not even comparable. It's not even comparable. Yeah, but second by how many points? Second by how many points? They didn't win a trophy all season. Out of the Champions League in the group stages. Just because Bruno is my fratello, I'm happy to give this rating a 5, but I'm not going a drop above a 5 out of 10 for this. Oh, that would hurt, bro. Delgado, that would hurt. That would hurt. That would hurt. That would hurt. Yeah, come through, Bruno. I'm only staying another, like, you're literally coming in the last 4 slides. Go for it. That would hurt. But a 5 out of 10 is about as much as you can give for Milan, man. About as much as you can give. Like, not only that, their goal scorers were incredibly low numbers for where they should have been for the season. And I just think that overall, the distribution of goals and their results at the critical end of the campaign and where it mattered was absolutely garbage. Absolutely garbage. And for that, I can't give them a good mark and I can't respect them at all. Let's move on to a team starting with M that in context achieved even more than what Milan did. And that is Monza. Monza, after last season, were really, really good. Really good. I don't think anyone expected them to do as well as they did last season. But this season, hey, here he is, bro. Imagine not making a appearance for as long as you have and coming on to defend Milan. I'm going to mute myself. Bro, good luck. Good luck, bro. Like, I'm surprised. Like, good luck. Go for it. First appearance.
I'm not defending them.
No, go.
I'm not. Have you done Inter yet?
Yeah.
Have you rated Inter?
Yeah.
What was their rating?
I gave 9.5. The chat gave 10.
Inter season's 8. Maximum.
Whoa! The chat
because if you're giving Milan that score, you got to think UCL bottled it, Coppa Italia bottled it, and there was no other competition for us to fight in. Like, we're out of the Coppa before New Year, so there was really nothing for us to do, and we had a strong team going into Champions League. And if you look at the team we had, it was competitive. And overall, we won the league 100%. Can't take that away. But how much of that league did we win? And how much of that league was given to us by the rest of the league being just so useless?
Yeah, they sucked, but guess what? We gave other teams the league for how many years by being the
100%. 100%.
Of our club.
100%, but if we're giving Lecce a 6, a 5, you gotta give Milan something, because at the end of the day, and I am unbiased when it comes to this, as much as I hate that club, I think overall they exceeded a lot of people's expectations. When you've got champions Napoli just bottling it, not even making Conference League, to AC Milan overcoming everything. And they sacked Pioli as well, which I think was undeserved. But at the end of the day, that's a different story. We got our second star. We couldn't have done it in a much better fashion. Just that overall is a 10. I agree with you, Mattia. I can't disagree with that. But if we're looking at rating on a fair scale, you can't go giving Milan a 6 and Inter a 10. Because I'd love to. But
I actually think you can. And had Milan won the Coppa Italia, or had they finished -6 or -7 to us, then I'd be giving them the numbers you're saying. But in reality, bro, I remember in October when they lost 1-0 to Juventus in Milan, and I said to myself, fuck, I really wanted Milan to win because I'm more scared of Juve. But then it was just Milan were always there, but they weren't. We were never scared. And they went out of the Champions League the same time that we did. They had to play Europa the same way we had to play Champions League. Like, I get where you're coming from, and you
I
speak
just
the
think
truth to an extent.
you get rid of that harshness, and because what did you do, Sassuolo? What did we give them?
Nah, I'm going in alphabetical order, but I was a
Okay.
bit stupid and I've accidentally missed, like, there's a few switches. But can
Ah.
you stick around for like 5 minutes or so?
I'm sticking around. I'm not going
All right,
anywhere.
mad, because it's been an hour, 15 minutes. I need to go and piss. So I'll be back in like 1 minute.
I'll keep going. Well,
1 second.
Milan,
I'll tell you what we're up to. Can you see
Monza?
slideshow and everything at the bottom?
I can see it there. Let's add this.
Yeah, beautiful.
Monza.
So if you go, let me flick. We've just done Lecce. We gave them a 7. You probably won't see the other one. We're up to Monza. We're up to Monza.
I'll talk Monza. Let me shut this door because these kids are going mental. But Monza, let's have a look at Monza's season. Guys, what do you think Monza's done this season? Overall, I think that Monza is in a position where they just surpassed everyone's expectations. Essentially, Monza delivered something that no one expected this season. I personally had them in relegation with Lecce and Empoli, I believe, or Frosinone. So I only got 1 out of potential 3 there. So overall, I think Monza did do well this season. I think 6.5 as per Fies is a great rating, but Monza didn't win a game since the 31st of March, and they lost most of them and drew 3. Any big scalps, they got a draw with Napoli, Empoli. Look, they didn't really do much, eh? They beat the bottom teams, but I think they got the points when needed. They had 11 wins and 12 draws, 15 losses. I think that's a fantastic season for Monza. Overall, I think we're probably looking more of a 7 for Monza, just because they exceeded everyone's Well, they definitely exceeded my expectations for the season. Just looking at the team, if it wasn't for Gagliardini and D'Ambrosio, they probably wouldn't be where they are. Just saying. But overall, they've just surpassed what everyone thought they were going to do. And 6.5, I think we're probably pushing that up. Let's round that up to 7, because essentially with the team they had and the position they were in, it was essentially a bottom half of the table finish, in my opinion, for them. And they managed to finish 12th, which I think is a fantastic result, especially considering where they were at. And I think I'm just trying to see who was there. I've got the worst freaking mind blank. Yeah, Palladino was their manager. So I think overall, and we can come back to it once Anthony gets back, Monza was definitely a team which we really didn't expect much, but it did deliver. And you really got to be happy with them. This is an interesting one. Team, fans, Napoli. Where do we rate Napoli? I want to see some movement in this chat. I want to see some people dropping their criticisms. I want ratings. I want to see what you think before you hear what I have to say. Fire's coming in with the 0.5 out of 10. Fantastic scoring there. Any other numbers coming in, let me know. Come on, guys. Anyone else in the chat? You guys can keep thinking, but Napoli season, I would give them 0. absolute shithouse. If I could go in the minus, I would. I think this is potentially one of the worst defenses a champion team has done since Inter. You've got minus 100. Yeah, we settled on 7 for Monza. But yeah, look, it was sad
The
to see.
worst. I've never seen a title defense like this in my 31 years on this planet.
Yeah, it was disappointing all round. You just thought next game, but that next game never came. And when you're finishing with 13 wins and 14 draws across a 38 game season, it's absolutely horrible. And the former champs, they were the current title holders with a +7 goal difference.
So they lost 11 games.
They lost 11 games, but a +7 goal difference compared to being absolutely dominant champions. All right, you lost Spalletti, but what did he do for that club? He wasn't the players on that pitch. He was not on that pitch.
Yeah, it's
Other
more
than
than
that,
just
who did they
Spalletti.
really
You don't cough up that many points just by changing your manager, bro.
No, you don't. And it was absolutely disgusting. I'm just trying to see, did they lose anyone?
What player-wise? They lost Kim to Bayern Munchen. That was their biggest loss. But at the end of the day, in terms of progressive build-up and everything else, they didn't lose Krava. They didn't lose Osimhen. They didn't lose any of their they didn't lose Labotka. They didn't lose Jelinski. They didn't lose Sombongisa. They didn't lose these players. But guess what? They are going to lose them coming this market. Like Zielinski, fingers crossed. It's not finalized yet, especially with all Inter's inconsistencies. But Taremi's over the line for Inter. So
I think overall, I think Osimhen and Krava should have gotten them into Conference League on their own.
But like Bruno,
last season.
Napoli's season is an example of a team that legitimately folded and gave up. You know, in the NBA and in America, how they say teams tank? Like, this is a proper tank job, bro. This is a team giving up in January and going,
in the NBA,
it's a collective notion that no one cares.
In the NBA, teams tank to get the best draft pick for the next season and set themselves up. Napoli tanked for no reason whatsoever. And they were quarterfinalists. And I'm comparing it to last season because you can only go from season to season. They were quarterfinalists in the Champions League last year.
Yeah. Should have gone to the semis as well. They would have given us a bit of better run than Milan did.
Yeah, they were given pot 1 for this year's Champions League.
Straight
and in the world that we're living in, pot 1 and pot 2 are the 2 most valuable pots in that UCL.
We're giving them a minus 100 altogether because of their Serie A, but where did they actually go out in the Champions League? Was it in the group stages or was it in the round of 16?
Honestly,
it was the round of 16. They got dumped out by Barca.
Yeah, and that was a game where I had, you look at Barca as a basket case. Xavi resigns. They beg him to come back, and then a week later they sack him. And it's like, okay, when you've got a team like this who can't beat it, I just think ADL, the power got to his head. And that was my next point, Faiz. Thank you for getting on that. I don't think Napoli can do worse next season because I just think the fans won't have it. And maybe they're on a champion. They won the championship and then they're on a hangover this season. But it's no excuse.
You made a comment, bro, about 20 seconds, 30 seconds ago that, it was all for nothing. Well, it actually wasn't all for nothing. I think it was all for nothing up until about a week, 2 weeks ago. But these Conte rumors look real. And we've seen this guy do this shit before. He has seen Napoli in the last 2-3 weeks drop out of Europa League, drop out of Conference League. And now Antonio Conte is doing what Antonio Conte does best. Oh, look at that. Inter hasn't won a Scudetto in 10 years. Oh, look at that. Chelsea is 17th. Oh, look, Spurs only expect me to finish in the top 4. Oh, look, Napoli has no European football next season. Antonio Conte walks into this job and he's already done the best thing since Nunes Pane di Casa, bro. That's it.
I think Conte, him being at Inter was the best thing to ever happen to Inter because he polluted management so badly that they invested in someone and put their faith and said, we don't care. You can't be as bad as what he was in the back room, essentially. And they put all their faith in Inzaghi. They let him develop, and look at where he's gotten us. Right?
I was about to say that Inter was the best thing to happen to Antonio Conte's career as well, because it diversified him in Italy. It diversified him in Italy, and now he could go to Milan if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to go to Milan because he's looking at their wage structure, their budget, and Champions League and going, Makekatsa, I do not want to go and play in England during the week. He wants to go and just stay in Italy. He wants to improve a squad without trying. He can do this at Napoli. He can get Napoli. They finished what? 9th?
10th.
Bro, he can get Napoli from 10th to 4th with the same squad just by being him. He knows.
Conte is a short-term fix for any club.
For sure.
He is a man who, if he doesn't get what he wants, just walks away. He gives up. And he's a short-term fix. If Napoli is looking to get into the Champions League next season, Milan, whatever, Conte is your man. But if you're looking to invest in a long-term project and build and fortify, Conte is not your man. So if Conte goes, it'll be the best thing for Napoli to get their stature back to where they were. But with the market that's coming up and ADL the way he is, and the new revenue that you're about to generate from next year's Champions League with the new structure, a lot is coming into play. And
can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Is the Inter stand to make more money next year with the new Champions League and Club World Cup?
There's, from what I understand, I'm pretty sure it starts next year. The Champions League is no longer group stage.
No, it's not. We're going with
the table format. So you're playing more games for higher revenues, right? And the better you play, the more games you win, the better your chances of progression. But at the same time, it's more revenue. You're playing more games, more exposure in the UCL.
Yeah.
Now, you got to think, Conte could perform miracles, but players like Osimhen, players like Krava, you've got Manchester City, Bayern Munich, who are looking to invest some big money there. You've got Chelsea, all of these teams, Newcastle, because they're out of Europe altogether, looking to get players who want to play European football.
Yeah.
Will Osimhen and Krava hang around? Why do you think Zielinski is jumping ship?
Yeah.
Right. So I think Conte would be great, as Alex said, jumpstart it, but at the same time, you can't run on fumes. And that's what Conte is.
Fair call, bro. Can't argue with that. Let's move on to two very disappointing sides, starting with the letter S. The first one is Sassuolo, who managed to take 6 points off the champions this season and still had to face their fans like this and get relegated. We ended on 94 points, I believe, or was it 96? So basically, if we put Sassuolo to bed, we would have actually hit 100 points. Long story short, they're not laughing. They're relegated. They had an awful season. And when I say awful, I mean really, really awful. They were bad from day one, and it did not get better for Sassuolo as shit continued. For them to be relegated now, I think they might struggle to recuperate and come back to Serie A. That's my concern.
I think Sassuolo's season had two highlights, and those were the two victories against Inter. Now, other than that, I'd put them on par with Napoli at minus 100. And the reason I say that is because of the simple fact Sassuolo should not have been anywhere near relegation when you've got Monza, when you've got Frosinone, when you've got Empoli, when you've got Salernitana, who only got 6 points from 2 wins, right? Sassuolo should not have been anywhere near that. So essentially, I can't give them a positive rating at all. They had 2 highlights. I'd even put a minus next to that. Just when you look at the sheer competition, only because
No,
If
you're
you
right.
ask
You're
me,
right. This Frosinone is shit. This Cagliari, this Empoli, this Salernitana. Like, there are 5 or 6 sides in Serie A that should have been more at risk. Like, the fact that this Genoa finished in 11th and this Lecce finished in 14th compared to this Sassuolo, you're right. It's crap. It's disgusting.
and yeah, I think other than Napoli, the expectations and the results from this season, they just were completely out of whack. Like, I'm trying to pull up last season's table to see where they finished. They finished 13th last season. They finished 13th on 12 wins, 9 draws, and a goal difference of minus 14, right? That's not bad because they are a mid-table team. But this year, 7 wins, 9 draws, minus 32 goal difference. They just lacked everywhere. And their 2 shining lights are the 2 victories against Inter, and Inter's only defeats in the test that is this season.
Pretty much. Happy to give him a 1. And to be honest, I believe this is a completely different video. It's coming. I'm going to do one soon. I believe he is at the level where we can have him as a 5th striker. It's a completely different video for another time. But my God, I saw Marko Arnautovic play some crap football this season. And I've seen Pinamonti play in this Sassuolo team and play better than that. It's a conversation for another time. And I want to bring Bruno in on it or somebody else because we're going to have 50 plus games next season. I know that for a fact, but I don't want to sidetrack, but we are. So the idea of bringing Pinamonti back from a relegated team, you know you're going to pay unders. You know you're going to pay drastic unders. So we will entertain this conversation.
Sassuolo and any team that got relegated, it's like going to the reject shop and getting your Colgate for $1 when it's $7 in Woolworths. Right.
Yeah, but then you turn it around and it's got Arab writing in the top right corner, and you're like, you know
matter.
what's going on? He knows, cuz. Bro, speaking of, bring this guy back, man. Save him. He was trying to save them all on his own. How many times did he need to bring out killer crosses or score screamer goals for Salernitana? Il numero 87, Antonio Candreva. Bro, save him. Just get him for free. Offer him minimum wage and bring him back to the club. No, we can't do that. But I feel sorry. I feel sorry for him, bro. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for them. It was a really bad season. Who was it that was really bad like 2-3 years ago that was like the worst team ever? Was it Crotone? Salernitana might have been even worse.
Yeah. I think
How many points did they finish on?
I'm pulling that up now. I've got the table. So last year's last place finished on 19.
Who was that again?
Last year, Sampdoria.
Oof.
And then the year before, Venezia, 27. Parma, 20.
Keep going.
Spal, 20. Kiev, 17.
17 points in one season.
21, Benevento. Like 18, Pescara.
No, this Salernitana is the worst one. It's tied with Kiev, 17 points. That is shit.
That I think that this team didn't go into the season with expectation.
They got 2 points against Milan and Juve.
This team went into this season, I think, what's his name? Latito from Lazio, when he owned them, he had high hopes. They haven't recovered from him having to sell them. And I just think that they bought time last year. They were living on borrowed time all season. Other than Sampdoria's complete demise last season, I think they would have been relegated. And next year, the teams coming up aren't a walk in the park. This Palermo has been building themselves for so long.
Palermo didn't go through, bro. You're talking about Parma.
Parma.
Yeah.
Have been building themselves for so long to try and get back in. The title race in the Serie B was so much more intriguing than what the Serie A was. And Parma, you just know they're the juggernaut. they're not coming back into Serie A to be the Empoli, come in for a
Hard,
drink and then leave. They're
hard.
coming in to stay. And then Como, they've got a lot riding on them. And,
Big investors.
big investors. You got Fabregas there, and I think he brings so much more to the team than just being a manager. And I just think Salernitana is not going to survive, but overall, their season, I'd have to say, on par with Napoli. But with that, I didn't have expectations of them doing anything. I predicted them to be relegated with only 2 wins. Okay, probably not, but someone's got to be the whipping horse in the group.
Yeah. Just on that, like Como and Parma are going to be 2 teams that are actually coming to Serie A next season with business, man. Business to do. These ain't 2 pushover clubs at the moment. Como on its own just might be the smallest Serie A club to come in there in the last 10 years, structure-wise and history-wise, because it's a beautiful little city just out of Milan. But not only is it Fabregas, like I know for a fact they're owned by the Hartono family, which is the richest family in Indonesia. Not only that, they've had some big sponsorship go into their training facilities, into their women's team. Thierry Henry has pumped a shitload of shares into them as well. Like, Como are there. Like, Como are your definition of we are not just a pretty face, because they literally have one of the most beautiful landscapes and stadiums that you'll see in world football. But they're rocking up to the party tomorrow, not just ready to shake their ass, man. They're ready to go, and they will definitely get more than 17 points than this Salernitana team got. I'll give them that much.
And honestly, I think that, Parma, you look at their history, that you look at their legacy, you look at some of the players that have played for this team. Overall, I think you're looking at a team who didn't they qualify for Europa League and then just get diminished all the way to Serie C or D because they went bankrupt or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and they've just come straight back up. They did what Juve did when they got kicked out of Serie A and just dominated to get back to where they are. So, honestly, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, Salernitana, just disappointing. While I'm here, Football Worldwide, Euros coming up.
Mad.
This is going to be a competition to watch, especially with Italy not having any pressure on them.
Yeah,
no one's
bro,
expecting
I'm
anything.
keen to just watch the tournament, man, because last time out, we were all hoping for glory. This time out, I'm just hoping to not get embarrassed. Anyway, I'm hungry, so we got to keep going on with this stream. Buongiorno, Sanabria, Zapata, Juric and co. This guy is the definition of a walking 7 out of 10, man. Like, he is such a structure. I really like him, bro. I reckon you give him a really solid board of directors, a really solid budget, and a bunch of old school athletes that are willing to grind. He will get the job done. The problem is in 2024, you can't actually have all of those assets at once. It's more of like a pick your poison sort of thing in the modern world. So unfortunately, Ivan Juric is a guy that's ahead of his time at the wrong time and behind his time at the right time. For that, I'm giving him a straight 7 for his work with Torino, because the way that he... Yeah, go on.
I think that goes up if Fiorentina win Conference League.
Yeah, for sure, bro. For sure.
I think that goes up if Fiorentina win Conference League and he gets into... I think that he gets into the Conference League.
So he finished 9th, man. He finished in the top half of the table. He's just... His style of brand, his half terrorism style, very aggressive on the defensive press and quick ball movement. I like Ivan Juric, man. He's the sort of guy that really deserves his shot at a bigger club, and I think he'll get it eventually. But he's also a guy that knows how to play the club field pretty well. Once again, I didn't mind Torino this season in terms of results. I think they had a couple of results that they should have been a little better in. I did pick them to do better against Atalanta than they did the weekend just passed. I thought Atalanta would be too hungover, but still yet to win a Turin derby after so many years. I know they got a draw at some point, but overall they won't be upset with their season.
3-1 against Milan in match day 37. I think that adds an extra couple of points on there. It's the never say. And Juric reminds me of it was De Zerbi who looked like this. and was overperforming at a smaller club and just lacked money, lacked assets, lacked the fact he could spend. And he managed to do what he did with, who was he with? Oh, I've lost my train of thought, but he was phenomenal. And he got poached by, I think it was Shakhtar, and then he ended up going to Brighton, who he just parted ways with. And now he's been linked with United, Chelsea, and everyone else. So, he reminds me of someone who can achieve that. I just think with the team he's got, he did well. He met the expectations of everyone. I didn't see them playing in Europe, and he's managed to do it. So good on him.
Duvan Zapata's on loan at the end of the day. We need to remember that. 12 goals in 34 games. Like, not huge numbers, but still a decent loan move for them. I think they'll make him permanent for a really, really cheap cut price fee. Atalanta winning the Europa League just helps them in that situation there. Moving on, I think we're down to our last 3 or 4 teams. We're just going to power through these ones. What a weird season for Roma, mate. Talk about like not knowing what your club's doing at any given time. Like, I've still got memories of Jose walking through that car park after Sevilla lost that. So after he lost that penalty shootout to Sevilla, which was horrible, by the way. I even felt that at school watching that. I was a Roma fan for a day then. And I remember him like leaving and like, yeah, bro, they've gone from starting the season enthusiastically to being in the pits to working hard and gaining enthusiasm again. And then you chuck a Daniele De Rossi into the mix and things actually seem pretty good. However, it could have been better. We have this big confusing thing that happened this week where we weren't sure whether or not Roma was going to get a ticket to the Champions League, but it doesn't look like they've got that ticket to the Champions League, Bruno. So overall, you can help us guide this rating now.
So I think if we're basing it off the team's performance, 6. If we're basing it off De Rossi since he took over, 7. But I think just the instability was their own demise. And overall, they just couldn't. There was no focus. There was no stability. And they've done some good things with El Shaarawy being brought up into the national team again after, he'll probably pick up an injury right before the tournament starts. But, that's how he goes. But they've shown some great signs. And Roma, before achieving anything, their goal is to finish above Lazio.
It is actually, yeah, and vice versa.
That's their first objective.
Yeah.
Then their second objective. Yeah, then their second objective is let's try Champions League. But let's
win a Coppa Italia or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what they did. I think they achieved. I think Mourinho knew his time was running thin, but I did not expect De Rossi to do what he did once he got to the club. And it's just a credit to De Rossi, but it's also a credit to the board. They saw something that I didn't see. And he brought some rejuvenation to this squad that no one really knew we needed. So overall, Roma, I think 6.5 is a very fair score. For their own team, I think overall, I think they achieved their objectives, and it could have been so much better. Like you said, if they won on the weekend, I think they got Champions League.
Yeah, you're right there, man. Good shout. A team that makes life hard for Inter every season, but doesn't seem to make life hard for any other team but themselves. Yeah, I fucking mean that with everything in my body. Hellas Verona have survived the drop. You could tell how happy they were. I mean, look what their team put out on the left-hand side when they survived the drop, bro. Back to back, Impresa, Giallo Blue. No worries, man. You survive, you come to the party for one more beer, one more year. Decent results at the start of the season. Like with these sort of teams, you got to look at their 6-pointers. You got to look at their head-to-heads. It matters for everything in the world and more. 1-0 away to Empoli in the season. Very, very good result. 2-1 win against Roma. You got to be happy with that. A draw to Bologna. What else can we see of value up on the board here? Not too much. They've had a pretty shonky season. A draw to Lecce and Udinese. It's not a good season overall for Verona. They've survived the drop by how many points?
3. They finished 13th. They finished
That's
13th,
flattering. That's
but they
flattering.
only survived by 3 points.
That's
right?
flattering.
Their goal difference was minus 13, and
Shit.
they were closer to relegation than what they were to Monza.
Can I say something? You know, these Veronas, these Lecces, these Udineses, these Cagliaris, like these guys are going to get relegated next season, bro, because they've survived and they think they've survived, but they haven't survived. Like we said, bro, teams like Parma and Como are coming for some of these positions. Some of these brothers that have been mooching off Serie A for a long time need to be very, very, very careful, bro.
And yeah, I think it says it all. 13th, if you look at it like that, it's like, oh, amazing. But 12th was further away to them than what 18th was. And
Yeah.
I think going into the season,
Wow.
you expect, they're 3 points off relegation, but they were
7 points off 12.
Off 12.
Yeah.
So that just shows where Monza was. But at the same time, you're looking at Verona, and the expectation of this team over the last couple of years has been they're setting a higher bar, but they didn't achieve well. And I think the position is so flattering. And how many teams did they share it with? Yeah, they shared that position with Lecce, Udinese a point behind, Cagliari, Empoli 2 points behind, and then Frosinone 3 points behind. So I think, yeah, it's hard to give him
6.5 too much. I'm only giving him that extra 0.5 because you're Verona and you survived the drop. But like you said, compared to the relative strength of Serie A, they should have collected more competition points, man. I'll give him a 6. You can't give him lower than a 6 because they finished 13th and they're freaking Hellas Verona and they stayed up.
I think out of a 38-game season, they only got 9 Ws on the board. And if I'm managing a team that I'm expecting to finish mid-table or just below, you need to hit double digits in the win column. Right? It doesn't matter if it's 10. You need to hit those double digits because that's a guaranteed 30 points. So I think overall, 6.5 is flattering. If 5's a pass mark, I'd give them that because they managed. They didn't have any other objectives than to stay in the Serie A. But then if you look at, who was it, Ipswich in England, they lost their qualifying playoff final to Southampton or some crap on the way.
No, Leeds lost to Southampton.
Ipswich and Leicester qualified. Leeds lost, and what did they lose? $390 million in revenue. And that's moving up. So it just shows the gap, but at the same time, staying in Serie A for Hellas Verona, if they survive this year, I see them surviving for the next 2-3 years because they're getting that ad revenue. But yeah, they barely passed for me.
They'll be in jeopardy next season. Teams like Verona, teams like Lecce, Udinese, Cagliari, Empoli, they're all going to be in big trouble next season, man. It's going to be another scrap. We could see a really, really big scrap. It's disturbing how poorly Napoli did this season, man. The fact that Verona were 15 points off them, like I know 15 points is 5 games, but if you went to a Napoli fan after winning the title and said, oh, by the way, you were only 5 games ahead of Verona, that's enough to make you shit yourself. So, yeah, they need Conte. Big time. Absolutely big time. All right, moving on. What's next? Oh, my God. There is one big twist with the season. Things that you thought you'd never see in your life. Fabio Cannavaro came to coach Udinese. And you know what? The Ballon d'Or winner actually did it. And it's actually not because of him, because their style of play didn't improve. It didn't change that much. All they did was bring in Ballon d'Or, fucking World Cup winning captain, Fabio Cannavaro, at a time where I said it on the Inter Worldwide channel a few weeks ago. I go, Udinese's got like a luxury here, man. They've got 6 pointers for the last 3 weeks of the season, or like give or take 1 game. Udinese actually had the most beneficial run because they could pick off their fruit from the tree 1 game by 1 to end the season. Literally had a whole vacation for 35 match days, turned up, did a mini copper at the end of the year with Fabio Cannavaro, staying up to Serie A, cuz.
In their last 5 games, they had 0 losses, 2
Bruh,
wins, 3 draws.
is that when he took over?
I think so. Yeah. But
Bologna, Napoli, Lecce, Empoli, Frosinone. That's what I remember off the top of my head.
That's exactly it, right?
Mad.
And he drew against Bologna, drew against Napoli, beat Lecce, drew against Udinese, and then beat Frosinone.
Say that one more time.
He drew against Bologna and Napoli, beat Lecce, and then drew against Udinese.
6.
And then
can't draw against
Frosinone. 9 points. Right? 9 points.
That's big in relegation fight.
In relegation fight, it's massive, especially if you look at where they finished. 2 points above the drop. 2 points above the drop.
See, like, I wasn't awake during the relegation fight this morning. I think I missed something really good. Like, Empoli were going down up until the 93rd minute. Frosinone was still there. It looks like Udinese itself was also like flirting with relegation right up until the last 15 minutes this morning.
Empoli's winner in the 93rd minute kept them in.
Because Udinese scored, bro, with 15 minutes to go. So with 15 minutes to go, Frosinone would have been safe, Empoli would have been down, and Udinese would have been safe. Udinese scored with 14 minutes to go to make them go nuts. And Frosinone went down simultaneously.
And
bro,
then
the world is harsh.
Yeah, and you would have thought Empoli was gone facing Roma, especially with how much Roma had on the line. So,
and then
it was phenomenal. I think he did an amazing job. This year's relegation battle was probably better than most title fights across all of Europe. It's hard to give him a rating.
Well, bro, for like Empoli, like I said, for 37 weeks, your rating is a 2 out of 10 for 37 weeks. But today is not match day 37, Bruno. It's match day 38, and Udinese are 15th. So at the end of the day, man, you might just need to give them exactly what they deserve.
5. Spot on.
That's it. Not a dot point over, not a dot point under. Because realistically, if you go and ask their most passionate of fans, they'll tell you Udinese should not be fighting for relegation on the last day of the season. We should be safe.
Yeah. And they were up, they were down, they were in, they were out, all in the space of 90 minutes this morning. And I think that's the beauty of the Italian league.
That's it.
And we've seen any team can beat any team. Well, only one team could beat Inter this season, but any team's competitive with every team in this cup and this whole competition. It's phenomenal the way this season landed. As for Inter fans, couldn't have been any better. Well, it could have been. Arnautovic could have scored that goal against Atletico, but we're not going there. Couldn't have been any better from a Serie A perspective for Inter. But as a neutral, you take Inter out of that equation and you look at the rest of the league, it was just every match day was, connecting to the IV. You called it with Udinese. They were flatlining. And then they charged it up, shocked them, bang, they're back to life. Like,
mate,
it was amazing.
100%. And Cannavaro is definitely the sort of guy to start next season with like 6 draws and 2 losses and get the sack from Udinese. But that's a conversation for another time, bro.
I don't think
Bro, it was so good to see you. I can't believe it's 7 p.m. You're probably exactly like me. Your whole day has just been a blur of busyness, and you can't believe that you haven't eaten much yet. So let's go and eat, and I'll drop off some
stuff. I'm going to make a camomilla, and I'm going to bed.
Beautiful, cuz. I envy you. All right, man. I'll speak to you soon.
Ciao. Forza Inter.
Forza Bruno, bro. How good was it seeing that guy again, man? That just warmed my heart for the rest of the night. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in to Inter Worldwide. Today, we were able to review all the Serie A sides, and we will come back with some content very soon. I've got a couple of thumbnails in the work. and we'll be back. Also have been speaking to a couple of guests that we should be able to get on the channel very soon. My name is Anthony, Forza Inter Worldwide. Ciao, guys.